Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we bring you day 304. We're still trying to catch up with a few streams that we missed during Christmas week. So this one aired back on the Christmas Eve, December 24th, in a usual format between Olexiy Arestovych, advisor to the office of the President of Ukraine, Lieutenant Colonel, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition politician. Enjoy. Dear friends, glad to see you all on Feigin Live. It is Saturday, 24th of December. Time is 2 minutes past 10 in Kiev, 2 minutes past 11 in Moscow. We are starting our stream. It is day 304 with Olexiy Arestovich, the usual. Guest here, glad to see Olexiy. Hello, Mark. Over 60,000 are watching us, over 16,000 click the like button. Despite being Christmas Eve, please continue subscribing, sharing links, referring to our streams wherever you discuss today's news. Please use any opportunity to distribute that, and of course subscribe to Feigin Live and to Olexiy Arestovich in the description of that video. Alright, let's start. Today the most dramatic event was the shelling of the downtown Kherson. You wrote a post about that, 10 people dead because of it, 58 wounded, everything is bloodied, a lot of blood in the center. That asshole Saldo, Russian administration collaborator, said that you guys are shelling your own cities. So, speaking of these attacks, they're rather constant, right? They are, Mark, but they seldom ever. It's not often when they shoot just the downtown. Yeah, I saw that. The crosswalk, the intersection. So call it a Christmas present, right? From these. Oh yeah, Olexiy, they're just wild people. Mark, another interesting angle to that is that formally they still recognize Kherson as part of Russia. So who's shelling what? Since the beginning of when they withdrew to the other bank, how many civilians dead and wounded? I did not specifically calculate that, Mark, but dozens of wounded, quite a few dead as well. For a week, maybe they didn't, and then they started shooting pretty much daily. So, any other cities that were shut up, or no, Mark, not any other city at that scale like Kherson got hit recently. There are some places where they usually attack. Kharkov, and on the south there are some Shaheds flying. But Kherson did overlap everything in the numbers of dead and wounded. And after initial shelling, they reopened fire again a few hours later. At the same spot? No, not exactly the same, but they still attacked the city, the civilian part of it. It's rather clear here for us. For each civilian, they will pay with 100 of their troops. Yep, understandable. War is war. Okay, let's get to some news. Lukashenko got to Moscow, which is rather surprising. They did meet with Borisov, and they did talk about the Russian new Roscosmos head, and they were discussing apparently some space things, and that's on the background of Russian part of the ISS still having some technical difficulties. It would be interesting if they managed to just shoot him out to space, but there was no information about him meeting Putin, so I don't quite understand why to go to Moscow without meeting him. I think, Mark, they're just making movements to show synchronization of their efforts. Does it mean that Belarus is getting ready more effectively for war? I don't think so. Does it mean that Belarus is going to be used as the platform for Russian troops to continue waging warfare? Yeah, I think it is. And again, for the most part, it's logistics, and it's transfer of shells, transfer of ammo, transfer of weapons. I don't see them directly engaging into conflict. They're probably discussing a big disinformation campaign about possible offensive from Belarus, including Belarus troops, so that we would keep some reserves in the north and would not transfer them to that same Bakhmut area or to the south. This is one of the main tasks they put in front of themselves. But since they are thinking about that task as the big, large-scale project, then the top leaders of both countries are participating. Plus, they're solving a bunch of logistics issues. All right, Alexei, so you don't see any special meaning behind it, right? Because the visit... yeah, there is, Mark, there is some sense behind it. They are peddling their disinformation campaign, to enhance... and also you did discussing the possibility to enhance their cooperation in logistics and ammo transfer. And since they're probably requesting resources that are providing for national security of Belarus, the complex of these matters can only be discussed by a president or a leader de facto of that country. In this case, it is Lukashenko. So, and again, that visit could have been asked for by Moscow to try to remedy the optics of Putin's trip to Belarus, because he always claimed Belarus to be a smaller, lesser state, and he's somewhat a smaller partner. And there were comments about why is Putin visiting his minion, and now they're kind of creating a smoke and mirror show around that to display that as an intensification of their contacts, to try to water the impression which Putin left by visiting Lukashenko directly. So that could have been asked to just come over. Don't be greedy. We need some help. We need to explain why did Putin visit you, and why did Putin visit to ask you for things. So start coming as well. Yeah, I get it, Alexei. That's an interesting angle. And I think we discussed that Mackay's death also impressed Lukashenko to a certain degree, that he might be a bit scared of his trips to Russia, because he doesn't want to follow Mackay's destiny of rapid demise. Well, Mark, true, but he always flies if he flies right, and Lukashenko is a pretty savvy in these questions individual. He flies with his own cook, with his own guards. So you think there is no direct danger for him like that? There probably is, but I think he may be gauging it that he can afford himself to visit Moscow with certain insurances. So, I got you. Okay. 2,900 people watching us. We've been live for about 9 minutes. Another publication, Peace in Ukraine is dependent upon the United States. Ukrainians will be able to continue fighting as long as the United States is actively supporting Ukraine, said Hungarian leader Orban. And he also stated that Ukraine will be able to maintain its capacity for war actions only as long as they keep getting the influx of money and weapons. If that stream stops, there will be peace. So we get here that if Ukraine runs out of resources for fighting, they will go and discuss things with Moscow. That's the position of Prime Minister of Hungary. Is he recommending United States to stop that? No, it doesn't. The article doesn't say that. He was careful, but this is his consideration. Well, I think we discussed that with you. If the United States stops supporting us, I think there'll be some people then who will come out and tell everything to American electors, to the American voting public, right on the precipice of elections. Imagine the effect of that. But these are discussions for the improbable and poor. We don't think the United States will afford to stop supporting Ukraine, because the one who dumps the topic and stops doing that will lose election campaign. And for that, they have a whole 2023, which is already essentially a campaign year. And also, there are some practical considerations. Even if we're not even talking about America being a world leader, the guarantor of security, they also have other friends on the global arena who are relying on their help. So countries like Taiwan may stop believing America, or South Korea, if America will dump Ukraine. So they might start drifting towards China or Korea or some other places, or Japan. So basically, if America will afford to lose Ukraine, there'll be a much bigger splash in the global arena. So one needs to be a complete idiot to make that step. But if to talk about the values, this goes so against of American view of the world that I do not understand how can that happen, that America will stop supporting Ukraine. In fact, it actually is growing, and both political and people's support. On the political side, we got additional funding as well. So in essence, we do have financial covered for the 23. Our budget is covered for that. So I think 23 will be good, and it'll be good enough amount of resources for us to overcome Russia in 2023. But what if we theoretically look into Ukraine? Do you think you guys will be able to wage this war even without American support? We do have European support, and then there is also non-European support. Plus, our military production is still working. Obviously, they are not supporting our whole demand, but they are giving us interesting supplies and enough certain type of weaponry. Our enemies are also not becoming better day by day. So imagine a hypothetical situation when America at some point stops supporting Ukraine. What will happen with Russian capability to fight? They have no support. So I guess, we'll be fighting with sticks and stones. And if there'll be no sticks and stones, then the grass will rise out of from our fields and will strangle them. And I can just imagine. Oh yeah, by the way, Olexiy, that became a meme already when you said that. Yep. I can only imagine that somebody in America comes out and says, we are not supporting Ukraine anymore. And then Russia says, yay, we're supported by Iran and North Korea. And I can only imagine that, somebody in America after Bucha, after all these horrors that Putin's troops did here in Ukraine, just would cancel any kind of support. And at the same time, all of the best so-called, in quotes, friends of America, North Korea and Iran are giddy about that eventuality. I think that such a politician who makes a statement, who makes such decision, would probably exist for about 15 days until he's impeached from office. So I don't think it's a realistic probability. And these Orban statements from Hungary, they're an interesting point to discuss, but that's about it. Well, Orban is... he's making decisions, right? He's helping Putin and his mudding water in that situation. Yeah, and he already got to the level where Hungary got a bunch of financials frozen for them from European Union, and they're not getting support that they were relying upon getting this year from EU. And that is all due to the special statement and special position and special negotiations, the things they asked for from European Union, certain window to keep buying Russian energy sources. So it turned out not to be real good for them. They won maybe $15 billion worth in that oil deal, but they will not get 22.5 plus another 6 billions from EU. Do you really want to continue voting for Putin and against European Union? You may lose more financial support before you change your mind. Sanctions are an interesting thing. They can be outwards, they can be inwards directed. All right. So I've been live for about 15 minutes. Dmitry Rogozin got a concussion and a shrapnel wound above his right shoulder blade. He has a metal piece stuck near his spine, 8 by 6 millimeters. And he has a concussion, and there are no other wounds, said assistant of Dmitry Rogozin. And I'm adding here personally, looking at the floor. So, because there was another information about his wounds. In any case, there is a rumor that the information about his visit and his party was leaked by somebody from Prigozhin's troop and his team to Ukrainian artillery. I think we talked about that, Mark. They keep leaking their data left and right. Near Kiev, when they want to, near Kiev, Russian army was leaking locations of Kadyrov people. They were transferring that. We didn't believe that first. We checked, verified, and yeah, that's them. Then we shot them. So, presence of many different private armies in Russian enforcement machine means presence of different interests. And these interests are fighting for the same resources, the same limited resources. And of course, there will be infighting and bickering between them. And the war is such a thing that when you decided to kill people, you unseal certain taboos. And it basically leads to any conflicts during warfare. They find only one solution, including conflicts with your own side. So this is rather natural for the system of values and system of communications that is set in Russian Federation now. People who are burying by tens of thousands of their own citizens on the front, it's not a big deal for them to bury another one. By the way, do you know that inmates in Prigozhin troops are now fighting near Bakhmut without helmets, without body armor? We already keep noticing. Tell us, Olexiy, about that. Yeah, well, we just keep noticing that there are more people being discovered in semi-military clothes, maybe a military top and jeans or running shoes at the bottom, and no armor, no helmets. So when they're talking about the second wave, I'm smiling about what are you going to be equipping them with. They don't have enough AKs, Mark. They don't have enough ammo. For a group of several inmates, they have only one person with properly functioning equipment and maybe night vision piece, and they think that's a strike group. So, yeah. All right. The amount of Russian missile carrying ships was increased, as stated by Natalia Gumenyuk in Ukraine. They added 2 above the water, 2 ships and 2 submarines that can carry totally up to 24 missiles between them. This is not a secret, Mark. We are aware of that. They are strengthening that capacity, and we already sent a note to people: do not ignore warnings, do not ignore sirens, go in shelter. They also are planning to use the Iskanders, calibers, and they probably have about 40 Iskanders left. So I think there'll be probably about other 70 missiles going to be the next attack, and then it'll be up to our air defense systems to intercept them, to our citizens to continue hiding in shelters when the sirens are up, and the energy systems to continue figuring out things and keep providing energy. So what's your estimation? There was a rumor, there was a discussion about lessening of their numbers. Well, what's happening? Yeah, they are going down. They used to be shooting 70 plus. Now they probably have 38, 37. They're trying to add more calibers to that number. And the more precise missiles are going down, their numbers are going down. So they have the dumber ones that have about 300-yard radius. And by the way, last time they used some mid-range missiles. So while they're trying to maintain the numbers, they definitely start to show the deficiencies in the structure. So they have very few of high precision ones. After the last missile strike, they had 450, 500 cruise missiles. If you shoot at about 100 per volley, it's only 5 volleys. If you send at 70, it's maybe 7, 8. If you launch by 35s, 35 numbers, maybe 15, 10 to 15 hits. And then the question is how much of those they'll keep in their special reserve. But then another factor to that is that when they launch just several missiles, it's much easier to intercept them by our air defense, because it's much easier to intercept 35 versus 100, right? And they are not capable of launching in larger volleys. They are losing planes, and each of them at every shot, they're shooting 6 missiles. There is wear and tear, there is maintenance, there is some defects and rechecks and services that need to be made. They're looking for new other ways to launch their missiles. Not all pilots can realize that. Part missiles are not operable. Remember the story when they were launching over Caspian Sea and there was a bunch of seals poisoned? That big chunk of missiles are just falling in the water and deteriorating there. Because many of these missiles they're shooting, they're 40 years plus old, and it's a high toxic fuel that the missiles use, so it's quite a headache for them. The numbers of high precision missiles are dwindling, and after we hit Diaghilev and Engels, remember right before that they had a volley of 100. Right after that, right after something happened there was only about 70 left. So 70 something. So they lost 24 missiles for the next volley, and that's a gradual, slow deterioration. But now they got to increase the share of calibers. They're starting to add mid-range missiles. S-300s, they have 4,000 to 6,000 of those still left. Those they'll be shelling for quite a while, but they don't fly far, so they're only a danger for the border, for the warfront cities. They cannot reach deeper. So they might try to increase their volleys. Even if they can't even shoot 100 in one volley now, they basically have to do 3 or 4 volleys, and 100 is an overall number for the daily attack. So we don't know exactly how will they do that. There are some considerations. We'll see that soon. We'll see how many of them will fly, where from, the directions. Because they're being tempted to find a way to launch 150 missiles somewhere. I doubt they'll be able to, because they don't have enough crew, enough technical capacity to launch that many. But imagine that they launch that many. We probably intercept 88%, so we shoot down about 130. 20 of them reach the target. That can be rather significant damage. But then we will compensate for that damage, and we will rebuild and fix certain things. But they already would lose about a third of their capacity, and we only have 3 volleys of it left. And then you might want to keep a few in a secret stash just in case. So another, 2 volleys of 150, and that's the end of the program. And after that, they'll only be able to produce, I think, 40 or 30 calibers per a quarter, and then do that once a quarter. So that's a weakening perspective. They will, of course, continue shelling us, but the quality of these volleys will decrease. I cannot exclude the possibility of a Großschlag, the big attack, when they throw everything at it. They're thinking about it, they're planning about it, we know for a fact. And still, it will be slightly more effective than usual, but it will not achieve the goals they hope to peg on it, and their reserves will be depleted by a third immediately after that. So it's kind of, they can even try to do that, but what's the perspective? What's the perspective outcome? If Iranian missiles arrive, then yeah, it will be a bit harder. If they don't, then and even if they come here, we'll find a way to deal with them. It just will be more difficult. So okay, Olexiy, thank you. Advisor to the office of Zelensky. I'm quoting Russian sources here. They're talking about Mikhail Podolyak. So Putin's propaganda things. I'm reading the opposite side. So Russia is saying we're not using Iranian UAVs and we're not going to use Iranian missiles. Yet the advisor to the head of the office of the president, Mikhail Podolyak, said that the company is supplying ingredients for UAVs and missiles in the Iran should be sanctioned, and Ukraine probably and its allies should probably consider hitting the missile manufacturing capability of Iran to limit their capacity to develop these weapons and build them. So that's a rather interesting statement. What do you say about that? Oh, Mikhail is actually scaring me here with his energy. I thought he was a dove and I was the hawk here, but in essence, yeah, he's getting bolder and bolder. Problem is, and I'll support him here on this one. Problem is that who will be hitting Iranian factories? I doubt it will be us because we don't have capacity to reach that far. If we had, we would, but I don't think we can. And then also it's about the saturation of such a strike. It cannot be just 1 or 2 missiles, right? So United States and Britain, they could be supporting that, but again, they are the countries that have the capacity, but will they? That's another question. So Misha making that statement, that's there is a distance between stating a position and the realization of that position, especially in big politics, about making military precision strikes on certain independent country with a very difficult story and background and political situation. But otherwise, yeah, I don't see why shouldn't we, because if they are providing Russia with weapons that kill our citizens and our soldiers, why not we? Why do we allow them? Why do we tolerate that? So, oh yeah, and thank you, Olexiy, for that opinion. And there are other countries there. There is also Israel. There is Saudi Arabia. They're all, and the United States, of course. They're all interested parties to that situation, and they might be interested in clearing that up with Iran. However, Mark, I keep listening more and more about. I think, as long as I remember, that there will be an attack on Iran, a war with Iran, a conflict, a military conflict with Iran. But in the decades, not much emerged. So I don't know. I'm skeptical about that attack. All right. Thank you, Olexiy, for that opinion. To catch up with that topic, Kirill Bodanov is saying that Russia purchased 540 shaheds from Iran. Each of them costs about $7,000, and we don't know exactly how many Russia paid Iran for these UAVs. Budanov mentioned that we understand Iran is still refusing to sell ballistic missiles. So is it a new contract with UAVs? No, no, no. It's just refreshed data from September. I think it was 1,750, and they keep supporting it in portions. It's not one time supply of 1,750. It's portions of 300, 400, 500. So according to that contract, they have I think another 1,000 left to be supplied. Okay, Alexei, thank you. Another piece of news is that Prigozhin made a statement that they are getting weapons from North Korea. Oh, Mark, yeah, we are smiling at that. It's another statement by Prigozhin to attract more attention to them and his army. I don't see any traces of Korean weapons on the front. When there'll be facts, we can address them. For now, this is just swag. Yeah, he's just creating an information agenda so that Wagner would appear in the search engines and in the media. They are using any means necessary to increase their publicity, including lies and killing people with sledgehammer. And that may have blowback at the end. Yeah, it might end up costing them dearly, but they have their own goals. They're going for certain success. Alexei, I think their success will be the grave yard. There'll be a neat grave somewhere on the hill where a lot of people will come to pee on. Well, they made the choice, Mark, right? So now they're just following the road. They made the choice, now the road leads them. I hear you, yep. Okay, thank you, Alexei. 306,000 are watching us, 84,000 click the like button. Please continue sharing and subscribing to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych, and to the Privateer Station. If you have not done that yet, click that bell button as well. I have another thing here. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Alexei. In every army of the world, there are very important elites. They even are not mentioned anywhere. I think Intel people are mentioned more often than these. So these are the ones who are called operative specialists. These are the ones of the planning department, the ones who are designing the story, how to defend, how to destroy enemy. They draw it up in the maps and create plans that are to be used by military. In our military, we had days of everybody. We have a day of communications, day of engineer, then of infantry, which was difficult to push through, but we got it in 2018. But there was not a professional holiday for the specialist of operations. And Zaluzhny made the day in his order a day before yesterday. So now Ukraine is actually celebrating the day of those people who are planning this war, the ones who are planning how to destroy the enemy, the ones who are finding ways to defend effectively and to attack effectively. I actually served in that group of people, with that group of people, and the main operative department of command. And I recently got a little present from them, a pen from them. And a good operator is a person who goes to his profession it takes about 15 years for them to mature. These people are knowledgeable all around. They need to understand how the infantry, how the intel, how the airborne. You need to know equipment. You need to know the order, the capability of everything. These are chess players with a boxer character, essentially, who think like world championships in chess and have enough will of similar to Mike Tyson, I guess, level of boxing to carry out the tasks and plan things that they do. So this is an honor, by the way, that they did send me this symbol I think this department is actually playing a very, very important role in that whole story. And the fact that Ukrainian military are showing, are displaying what they do on the battlefront, it's probably 60-70% due to your input in that. This is definitely your input in this situation in our fighting. I know how you work. I know I was one of you, and they're very serious guys. They are the best of the best in the army. The intellectual part of it, of this machine. So for me, I really cherish that gift. Thank you guys, and I bow my thanks and respect to you currently working in that department. Thank you for continuous support to our troops. All right, I apologize, guys. I keep coughing. Thank you, Olexiy. I'm continuing to recover from the flu. Last thing I wanted to touch upon today, we did promise that we'll be waiting for a solution, decision from Georgian authorities about Mikhail Saakashvili. Time is passing by. We are hoping, we're not insisting, but we do sincerely hope that there'll be some solution found. There are a lot of attorneys involved and many other people of influence. I'm getting a lot of notes about this. But I do want to make an announcement that on Monday, we're not having a stream tomorrow, right? No. Okay, so on Monday we'll share a plan with hashtag Save Misha, and we'll share what we think could be done to help him, and we'll need definitely support from all our viewers in different parts of the world, in different countries, to get involved in that. I will tell how that will happen, but you all need to consider that if we do want to save the life of basically dying Mikhail Saakashvili, this has to be some action, some actual action from our viewers across the world, not just sitting on the sofa and eating popcorn. I have some experience in doing similar campaigns with other political prisoners, so if you followed my earlier attorney's steps and career, everything is achievable. So we still hope that President of Georgia Zurabishvili will find strength to pardon him, because right now he's actually partaking in that criminal prosecution interrogations from his bed in a hospital where he is now, some private, I guess, facility in Georgia, but semi-prison medical facility. But he's an elderly guy with a very weak health, so we're trying to stop that charade and give him an opportunity to recover and to save his life. Plus, it's the eve of Christmas. All Christians are waiting for that. It would be nice to at least do something, bring a little more hope into this world, and maybe brighten the expectations of his future destiny, who was a president of Georgia at one point. But anyway, we'll wait till Monday and then we'll talk more about the topic. What do you say about that, Olexiy? Yes, Mark, I totally support that, and I do ask our viewers to support. We will ask from you, Olexiy, as well for some participation, but I'll talk about that Monday. Sure. If we manage to have millions of people engaged, if we get maybe half the Georgia population protesting around the world, or some significant number, I think Georgia will get the message. Okay, so over 300,000 watched us live. 79,000 clicked the like button. Last words of that stream to you today. My congrats to everybody with Christmas. Thank you, Mark. I also congratulate everybody, not just Christians. I think it's the overall holiday of humankind. In my view, the essence of this holiday is that when situation was difficult in the world, people and wise men turned to God asking for help. And they were hoping that the God will send some force and resolve issues and will fix the rotten and spoiled and will help the poor and needy. And the god reciprocated and gave them a child. What's the message in that story? You wanted a Titanic Messiah, some tour de force personality to come down, and you wanted to hide behind an archetypical adult. When you get a child in your hands, your only option is to become that adult yourself that you wanted. You wanted some king to rule, somebody to come and fix it. The main message was grow up yourself. And what is a child? A child is somebody who needs love. So it was about love. It was the message of love. So, and one can dig deeper here, but in a paradoxical way, a God Almighty who can create 10 of universes like ours just with a whim, he came here as a little boy who couldn't even touch the nose of cow because he was too small. And this is a lesson to the humankind that the light, peace, and family values are eternal values of the humankind, not just Christians, everybody. And we also need to understand that it reminds us with a little baby one can hold in your arms. It's all the future. It's all the scientific discoveries, all the explorations of the world. It's all the possible future outcomes of the humankind. That's all in our hands, and that's the message of this holiday. So I congratulate everybody, all Christians of the world, and everybody else with that holiday. This is the holiday of all people. Thank God, as they say, and till Monday, Olexiy. Goodbye, everybody. Good luck.